and decode any incoming messages. There are void fissures in the area.
Friends and lovers, welcome to the Jimpressions for Warframe, the game where I look effing fabulous, and that's all that matters. I'm pretty in pink, and you can all F off about it. I don't know why I'm saying F a lot. You can fuck off about it. How about that? This is Warframe, the free-to-play, third-person shooter, online, cooperative, hack-and-slash, thrill-em-up that quite a few people are talking about. Now, I first played this game when it first came out. When was that? Like 2012, 2013? This game is years old. Although you play it today and it feels quite modern, because it got a lot more attention in the tail end of 2017, where a lot more people took notice and were like, holy shit, this game's actually really, really good now. I played it on PS4 when the PS4 launched, because they were making a big deal about free-to-play games coming to consoles and all this kind of stuff. So I downloaded it, played it, wasn't too impressed with it, and then just forgot about it. But the more we talk about monetization on this channel, on the Jimquisition and all that, I felt duty-bound to go into this, because a lot of people hold Warframe up as an example of how to do monetization correctly. Now, I feel Warframe does some good things, some bad things when it comes to making money, but it is free to play. It's a free to start game, as Nintendo would call it, and that's fine. And fundamentally, the gameplay itself is great. It's just terrific fun. I really can't praise the fundamental aspects of it enough. I love all the different Warframes, all the different characters you can play as, and their unique skills. Each one has their own set of abilities that can often synergize really well together. I'm playing Mirage, who I keep accidentally calling Mimic every time I'm talking about her. And her main thing, although I sometimes do it out of order and mess it up, her main ability, as you can see here, is making duplicates of herself. They're like illusory holograms. And that synergizes with Sleight of Hand, which is her second ability, which creates like dazzling light traps that can blind enemies, and it also booby traps environmental objects. And that's more effective if you do your first ability, because it basically makes more but weaker versions of the traps, because there's more of you. So it's a really, that's just one simple idea of how these things can synergize. There are other characters with even more complex abilities that stack together and work together really nicely. But as a game, I am impressed. Compared to when I first played this, the improvements they've made are spectacular. It's clearly an ambitious game, looks beautiful, the character design is off the charts. If I'm to criticise it from a gameplay aspect, and this in fact is part of the design as well, the visual design, the chaos is, I mean, the anarchy's off the charts. Enemies and other player characters can be a little difficult to distinguish, because everything's got this bio-organic look to it. You may have noticed earlier in the video I swiped at my own alien dog. I've got a pet alien dog in this particular bit of footage, and sometimes I'll shoot or attack that. But it sort of doesn't matter, because there's no friendly fire. And because I speak as a Dynasty Warriors hack-and-slash fan, just jumping into a pile of enemies and just smashing an attack button, I really like that. That gives me thrills and chills, the likes of which you couldn't experience. Well, you could experience it, actually. I'm just talking complete rhetorical bollocks. But enough of the bollocks, let's talk about the game. Here I am just doing a bit of a dance, messing around with emotes until the enemies come. Here they come. So these are the aliens, their attack. This is a wave-based thing. There are lots of different mission types. I'm a little bit jumpy with my talking today. I'm very excited. I've been meaning to do this for ages, but there's a little bit of family stuff and getting ready for the wrestling stuff, and just a lot happened last week. I recorded this footage more than a week ago, and I've been itching to finally talk about Warframe, and now I've got my chance and I'm blowing it because I'm just banging on about meaningless bollocks. But suffice to say, I'm a fan and I'm impressed. And I think I'll end up doing a Jimquisition at some point, talking about what I feel Warframe does right and what I feel it does wrong. I will say that it has nailed, for the most part, this idea of me spending money on the game because I want to, because I'm already having a ton of fun with it. So I feel not duty-bound or compelled, that's sort of the wrong word. I feel good spending money, I guess is the word, because I don't feel like I'm buying it just to have fun with the game. It's enhancing the fun that I was already having. And that, to me, no matter how you do it, so long as you nail that feeling from your audience, you're doing something right. And this absolutely is doing that bit right. There are some other things, you know, I've seen some randomized microtransaction stuff in there that I'm not too fond of, but the idea that you can buy your own Warframes and kit out the game, the cosmetics, the looks, everything, how you want. Very much like Zen Pinball, which I often hold up as an example of a free-to-play game that I really like a model of, where you're not just... It's not buying a game and then buying more stuff for it. You are buying the game piecemeal. You're getting what you want as you want it. And I really love that sort of model. And there's a lot of that goes on in Warframe, you know. You can pick any one of these Warframes and have fun with them. And if you want to spend more money and just have a whole bunch of different ones to fiddle around with, you can do that. Or, you know, you can wait and what have you. There's a lot of typical free-to-play stuff in here. There are, like, waiting times for crafting that you can speed up with premium economies. I'm never too fond of that sort of stuff. But the basics of just sort of kitting out the game as you see fit and buy just the bits you want to enhance the enjoyment that's already there, that's something this is... they nailed it, I feel, in that regard. And... I love all the different characters. I like Mirage here. Another one I like is Sarin, which is a poison one. And she will cover enemies in like poisonous spores, and then if you shoot the spores, they'll spread to other enemies, and her other abilities work with those spores that you lay out. She's cool. Right now, I haven't got any footage of this, because like I say, I recorded this ages ago, but I started playing it again last night, and just got stuck playing it for hours, because it really, once you start playing it, it really gets its teeth in you, in a good way. It's not just robotic, Pavlovian compulsion to play. It's just too fun to put down, in my personal opinion. But the one I'm playing at the moment is Nyx, which is a character that can mind control other enemies and that sort of stuff. You know, turn enemies against each other, all that kind of stuff. Always a big fan of that sort of thing. That's what I like as well, is there seems to be a Warframe for any type of player. If you like mind control, if you're the type of person that likes to set enemies against each other, there's a character for that. There's a character that does poison. There's a character that, you know, there are characters that just deal straight up damage all the time. That's one issue I do have as well, is some of the characters have really cool abilities, but they don't feel all that useful compared to an ability that will just deal raw damage. You know, there's nothing quite compares in this game to an ability that will just do an area of effect, whacker damage. As fun as some of the other abilities can be. That's just my read on it anyway. Of the Warframes I've tried thus far, Mirage is probably my favourite, although, as I say, I really like Sarin. We'll have some footage coming up of Sarin in a moment. And conceptually, I really like Nyx. I like Trinity as well, that's the other one I have. They're all the ones I've tried so far. I like Trinity in concept, because I like healers, I like support characters, but so far I've not gotten far enough in the game where a healer has ever felt necessary, so I'm keeping her on standby until later on. But this is the one that spreads disease. As you see there, shot one character with the spores, that's all the green that's on them, and then it spread once I shot the spores, and you can really take out a good group of enemies by doing just that, and it's very satisfying. Again, it's hard to... The more subtle abilities, while they can be fun, nothing compares to the satisfaction of just spreading a contagion and just watching enemies fall to pieces like that, just crumble in front of you. If you want to talk power fantasy, Warframe has a lot of that on offer. But this one, as I say, is a very cool character to play as, and you might have been able to tell by now, I'm a fan of garish colour schemes. I have actually given Saren a different look now. I toned this down, but I still wanted green and purple just because she's a venomous character, or rather a poisonous character. They're different. I think it's venoms and poisons that are the different ones. Toxins. Anyway, now is not the time for a chemistry lesson. Now is the time for shooting and hacking and slashing. So yeah, she's fun. I must admit, I've been playing Fashion Frame more than Warframe, which, again, puts paid to that it's just cosmetic argument that people trot out, because in a game like Warframe, cosmetics is, like, it's half the fun. It's part of the gameplay, to me. It's a big part of the experience, and I've spent way too long fiddling around with capes and colour schemes. Ooh, Octavia, that's another one I have. Octavia's awesome. Octavia uses music to attack the enemies. That's a cool one. I just thought I'd mention that right now. So anyway, I guess I should wrap this up for now. I have spent too long colouring butterfly wings on my Octavia. That's why I remembered Octavia just then, because I was going to talk about butterfly wings. I was too busy customising butterfly wings and capes and helmets to do much story progress, which is why this is going to have to be a first Jimpressions, and, you know, hopefully we'll do more Jimpressions on Warframe as we go along, but for right now, even though it's early days and I haven't got to the bit everyone keeps telling me I'm gonna love, they're like, have you got to this point yet? Because that's when it really kicks off. I haven't yet, no, but I still really like it, so clearly if it's gonna get better from here, I've got a lot to look forward to, and I'm quite excited about that. But I think I've pretty much communicated what needs to be communicated here at the moment, which is I'm enjoying Warframe a lot. Do you remember when it was called Dark Sector? I don't know if any of you remember this. Dark Sector is it's a game, it's a different game. Came out last generation, Xbox 360. Maybe it was on the PS3 as well, but I played it on the 360. Not a very good game, quite mediocre, third-person shooter with a glaive in the Krull sense, that you could control a bit. Basically just a boomerang frisbee thing. And a lot of the gameplay revolved around that, but it didn't control very well, and the puzzles were awful. And that was married to a rather mundane Me Too Resident Evil 4 style third-person over-the-shoulder shooter, which that sort of thing was big at the time. But the interesting thing about Dark Sector is before it released, in fact before the PS3 came out, they had Dark Sector advertised with a trailer that had a character in it that ended up looking like the Excalibur Warframe from Warframe, because Dark Sector was rubbish and didn't use nearly any of the visual elements that were in that trailer for Dark Sector, and they were all carried over into Warframe. And I've always loved that because well, mainly because I'm one of maybe 5 people in the world who remember Dark Sector, and that this game is related to that game endlessly tickles me. You could say I'm tickled pink by it because of all the pink that I put on my characters because I'm a big guy. But anyway, that I think will do. I am enjoying being flamboyant, I am enjoying poisoning aliens, I am enjoying shooting stuff, and I'm looking forward to trying even more characters because I can't bloomin' help myself. But I'm spending money because I'm already having fun, and that's the main thing. Some of these games rely on, you know, the Pavlov's Bell effect, or giving you a fake sense of investment, or just trying to trick you and badger you into spending the money. And of course, it's way less forgivable when the game's $60. And while this game does have a bit of the badgering, for the most part, it's doing it right. For the most part, they're on the level, even if I'm not quite sure whether or not I know how to play the game yet. But I'm enjoying it, which at the end of the day is what matters. And I'll leave it at that. We'll be back maybe in the future if I've got fresher things to say, and I get to that bit everyone keeps telling me to get to. Until then, goodbye. I'm going to go make some more pink things.